When I went to do the tour of the United States called The Conspiracy of Hope in 1986 with Bill Graham, we we decided that we would test, you know, is the concert needed? Because some people were saying we were trivializing human rights with this kind of music and those kinds of arguments. So I set up a camera crew outside of a, regular old New York City metro exit and talked to people and asking them all day long, do you know who Amnesty is? And none of them really did know. There's some called it the group that went to Canada, against the war, and some said it was Bertrand Russell's group, and some said it's a band, and some, it we really had there was no clarity, at least in the general population of Amnesty International. So I met with a guy, a filmmaker, a beautiful filmmaker, Bill Furtick of New York City, and I said, Bill, we do this shoot. So I said, how do we do a public service announcement? He said, well, what do you need? And I said, well, I need a movement. We need people. We need young people. I promised South African buddies that I worked with in Lesotho that I would come back and bring our young Americans into the fight against apartheid. He said, oh, okay, then what we're going to do is just ask them to join us. And I thought, well, how do we do that, Bill? He said, well, you and I will go to LA and put out the word, and we'll start filming, see how many celebrities show up. Well, lo and behold, he did that. And there were at least, I don't know, 30. There was a lot of movie stars out there who wanted to pitch in. It really was brilliant. Um, the one that lasted the longest on television was Robin Williams. And Robin Williams was so good that most of the stations took Robin Williams, to be truthful about it. And one day his manager called me and said, Jack, did you take down that PSA of Robin's? Because he doesn't look like that anymore. It ran so long, it was very successful. But in the middle of this, Angelica Houston came in with her father, who was in a wheelchair, and he was not feeling well. He had a breather under his nose, and he was doing his best to help Amnesty International, even in that grave condition, because he died not long after that. They reeled in John Huston, who was a hero of mine, because he's Irish and he's a great filmmaker, and he had a daughter who won the Nobel or won the Oscar award, and amazing family. And so I said to Bill, Bill Furtick, our filmmaker, could we shoot John first and just break the line? And yeah, sure, let's do that. He's not well. So we did that. And it took a while for John to get through the 60-second and then the whole 30 seconds. So you had to, all at one time. And that took a little while. It really did. So Robin Williams went out, and the room was filled with celebrities in the next room. And he said, okay, Robin Williams said that essentially the 30 or 40 celebrities, well, there's some real talent in the room, so you ought to shut up in here. It was really hilarious. But it was John Huston. They all, of course, had respect for John Huston, and Robin was right. They all stopped moaning about it. We got to get in there, and it's my turn, and where's the coffee, and all that kind of stuff. So it was really brilliant. But we had, I don't know how many, maybe 30 or 40 PSAs ready uh, for that day of 11 hours of television on MTV. We could run as many ads as we wanted. So we were ready, and that started the branding of Amnesty International from nowhere to #1 charity in America practically at that time. So I was pleased with that result, and Bill Furtick was our genius behind it. All set. In my career at Amnesty International, I got to know two future presidents of South Korea, Kim Dae Jong and Kim Young Sam, and they were brilliant young men, and it was interesting in the Korean community, because when you walk down the street with Kim Dae Jong, who eventually won the Nobel and had been a torture victim in his own country. Um, the Korean grocers would see him, and in honor of him, they would pitch money at. They had a pitch. It was kind of a thing to do, I guess, in Korea. You pitch money at him, and we'd be going down the street. They'd be throwing money at him. It was really interesting. He was highly regarded by the exiles. Um, and in a sense, so I had some familiarity. And he asked me what, in his going away speeches, he was like, he was worried that Benigno Aquino had been killed on the Philippines as soon as he got off the plane. He thought he might be killed too. He said, you know, would you give my going away speeches in New York and Los Angeles? I said, yeah, sure, I'll be glad to do that. I don't think many Koreans understood my English, but because, most of them spoke Korean, they seemed to be there anyway. But I had quite a good relationship with two future presidents of South Korea. So when Farrell, my partner, noticed that there was a prisoner who was let out after 50 years for simply nothing but being a communist, registered as a communist. And she wanted to see him and talk to him about that commitment and why would he do that. She was amazed by that story and also wanted to get the story out that South Korea had held someone just for opinion for 50 years, which is a human rights abuse because it's an unfair trial. And so she goes over there, and they weren't going to let her into a press conference. And there was Lee Shin-bum who was there. Lee had come to the United States running from South Korea and had spent time with us in our offices. And I think he was at the Conspiracy of Hope, if not the Human Rights Now tour, one or both. And he spoke up at this press conference for Ferial because they didn't want to let her in. He said, no, no, stop that. He said, don't stop her because her partner, Jack Healy, probably did more for South Korea than Kim Dae-jung and Kim Young-sam in their periods in in the cities of New York and L.A. We owe him a great debt of thanks. So she was the star at that, and found out from that 50-year prisoner that he still kept his commitment of communism, and he wasn't going to give it up. And that's why he said he just wouldn't. He could have given up anytime he wanted, but he stayed 50 years until they finally let him out. It was an amazing story that she wanted to capture, and it also showed how one person can have an effect by being kind and open. Because these gentlemen, Kim Dae-jung and Kim Young-sam, would just stop by our offices. So I'd give them as much time, and our staff always did. We were always receptive, um, and it goes to show you how I think at times just kindness and decency of allowing things to happen around you, uh, and give people some space and time that they're important, you're important, and you've done something. Because both came to power in South Korea after that and died normal death. So it was quite a day for us at Amnesty International.